big story developing in Tamil Nadu, where there is already rainfall in Puducherry and Tamil Nadu for the last couple of hours, with that vaccine, with the cyclone, I beg your pardon, expected to strike the coastline in the next couple of hours. These images tell you a story. Firstly, that Coast Guard cutter on the bottom left-hand side of the screen in fairly heavy seas over there. It's raining in Puducherry. Wind speeds have been picking up. That cyclone is surging to approximately 140, 145 kilometers an hour. What will the speed be when it makes landfall? That's what we'll be looking at. There have been extensive evacuations as well. But remember, COVID is a huge concern. As these evacuations take place, people are brought away from the shore. These are images, an animation package by Earth School, which brings this incredible animation package whenever wind speeds pick up as a result of a tropical storm or a storm in any part of the world. This is what's happening right now. You can see the eye of the storm that's right in the middle. That's where wind speeds would be essentially nothing, but around that, wind swirling. There are parts which it's difficult to see on your screens, which are actually red. Those are where the wind speeds would be swirling at upwards of 140 kilometers per hour. We'll be talking about all of these developments. It is absolutely tense in parts of that coastline at this stage. It's a little after 9 p.m. now, 3 hours, perhaps a little bit longer before landfall is made.
In less than 2 days, Cyclone Nivar has turned into a very severe cyclone, heading towards the east coast to make its landfall about 150 kilometers south of Chennai, near Puducherry, between Karaikal and Mamalapuram. The Met says the cyclone, 220 kilometers southeast of Chennai, already has a wind speed of 110 kilometers per hour, which would cross 155 kilometers per hour while crossing, strong enough for large-scale devastation. Puducherry has shut down till tomorrow and banned crowds from assembling. This visually impaired couple are among the first at this relief center at the Union Territory. Okay, she says they live in a tiled house, a rented house. It's very leaky. The landfall could be in a 50-kilometer stretch, they say, between Puducherry and Kadalur. These two areas, officials say, could suffer maximum damage in terms of disruption or damage to electricity and communication lines. Thatched roofs, tin roofs, all could be blown away. There could be huge number of tree fall, besides damage to roads as well.
I am expecting damage to the crafts, damage to the boats of the fishermen and the huts where the people living in the low-lying areas, and the roads will be damaged. Our state administration is fully prepared.
In Kadalur district adjoining Puducherry, more than 2,000 people have been evacuated. The district has activated shelters and relief centers to accommodate 70,000 people. The officer supervising is well regarded for his handling of the devastating 2004 tsunami.
Our Honorable Chief Minister had also directed that teams of minimum 2,000 to 3,000 persons immediately should be mobilized right before the onset of the cyclone itself to the districts, and the teams are on the way. The chief engineers from other districts are being mobilized to Kadalur and neighboring districts in order to immediately take up the restoration process.
With 16 centimeter rain already in Chennai, many streets got inundated, and the government today started discharge of water into Chennai's river Ariyar from the near full Chembarambakam lake, bringing back memories of the 2015 floods. However, authorities say the situation is under control and people need not panic. In Puducherry, with camera person Edwin, Sam Daniel, Find TV.
Well, Sam Daniel joins us now. Sam, the rain has really picked up where you are. What are they saying about what's the latest on the landfall? When is it expected?
Vishnu, the latest information is that the cyclone has got closer. It's around 160 kilometers southeast of Chennai, and it's expected to make the landfall between midnight and the early hours of tomorrow, which means a large population would be caught unawares. Perhaps they may be sleeping, which could be in a sense boon, as many say, as large population will be safe indoors. But if something bad, heavy, strong happens, then they'll be caught unawares, and that's the worry now. And in Chennai, of course, it's raining, and also in other places like Cuddalore, Puducherry and several other coastal areas, it's turning windy. And the big worry is, of course, the kind of damage which officials say could be in terms of major damage to huts, tiled houses, also to crops and to mobile phone towers, electricity lines and communication lines. But authorities say they're fully prepared. 2 teams of NDRF already in Cuddalore, also in Chennai, and they've been reaching out to communities in terms of evacuation over the last few days, and officials say they'll be able to restore power supplies soon and also to clear areas in terms of tree fall and other damages. And they've also activated several hundred cyclone shelters and relief centers, and they hope many people would be coming there in large numbers now, although through the day there were very few people trickling in, but now officials say many are coming in. And in Chennai, the worry, of course, is non-stop rains, and water was released from the Chembrambakam lake, which is nearing its capacity. And the flow is on the river Adayar, which also brings back memories of the 2015 floods. But authorities say these two situations are completely different. Situation under control, and the river can actually hold up to 14 or 15, 70,000 cusics of water, while now the flow is only around 14 to 15,000 cusics. So people hoping against hope that things will be smooth and safe. Authorities reassuring, but we'll have to wait till early in the morning to get a sense of how severe was the landfall, or would the landfall be, as they project the wind speeds to cross 150 kilometers per hour, 145 kilometers per hour, which officials say could be devastating. Many authorities say the damage could be severe in places like Cuddalore and Puducherry, going up to Marakanam, which is closer in between Puducherry and Mahabalipuram. And there could be severe damage both to Cuddalore town and Puducherry town, besides rural pockets in these 2 places. Vishnu.
All right, Sam, be careful over there as these wind speeds pick up. Of course, you will be bringing us the very latest as this cyclone makes landfall. Joining us now, Rear Admiral Puneet Chawla, the flag officer commanding in the Tamil Nadu area, somebody who's looking after the naval aspect of rescue and relief should that be required. We're also joined by Roxy Matthew Cole. He's a climate scientist at the Indian Institute of Tropical Meteorology. Thank you both very much for being with us. Admiral Chawla, firstly, where does the cyclone now stand?
Good evening, Vishnu. It's Admiral Chadha here. I'm the flag officer commanding Tamil Nadu and Puducherry area. Cyclone is around 100 kilometers, a little less than that, from Puducherry, and is likely to make landfall between Puducherry and Mahabalipuram between midnight and 3 o'clock in the morning.
Admiral Chadha, what exactly are the wind speeds at this stage?
At this stage, the wind speeds are around 70 to 80 kilometers per hour, and they are likely, as you were saying earlier, they are likely to pick up to around 140, 145.
And in terms of the rescue and relief facilities you have in place, could you tell us what you have?
Yeah, one of the main things which in the aftermath of the cyclone which will be required will be to have a flood relief teams and the diving assistance, which is a specialized capability which we bring on the table. We have got 1 diving team standby at Chennai and 1 diving team standby at INS Purandu, which is at Ramnad in south. So from both the sides, within 4 to 5 hours, we can reach all the areas where the diving assistance may be required. In addition, I have got around 12 flood relief teams spread all over my bases along the coast of Tamil Nadu to be called in as and when they are called for.
Okay, and when the Chennai situation took place in terms of the flood sometime back, Admiral, a few years back, your helicopters from the Indian Navy and the Indian Coast Guard played a huge role. So those helicopter assets might potentially be required as well.
Yes, we have the helicopters ready at INS Vijali in Arkonam, along with the Dornier for doing the surveillance and the reconnaissance after the cyclone will make a landfall tomorrow. And in addition, one ship has already sailed and is north of Chennai, carrying the humanitarian assistance and disaster relief material, as well as an additional diving team. And one more ship has set sail now, which will be here by tomorrow afternoon.
All right, Admiral Chadha, just be with us for a moment. I just want to go across to Roxy Matthew Cole. Is one of the key points being discussed is the intensity of the storm having picked up speed very fast in the last 24 hours. Is that something that you see being linked to global warming or to climate change?
Yeah, it's wonderful that Indian Ocean is becoming much more and more fertile in the recent years. Just before the monsoon, we had the local swarms coming in due to changing weather patterns, and then back-to-back cyclones in the Indian Ocean, Nisarga and Amphan, and then changing weather, monsoon patterns. And now we have come to that stage where we are post-monsoon cyclone with Cyclone Nivar. And it's not a surprise that we have Nivar at this time, because this is a cyclone season, post-monsoon season, and with conditions in the Pacific like cool conditions with a La Nina, we are expecting a cyclone in November. And we were wondering why we didn't have a cyclone until now. But the interesting point is that this cyclone, like Nivar or the cyclone Gedi, which happened in Arabian Sea, or some of the cyclones in the recent period, are intensifying quite rapidly. In the case of Nivar, it intensified from a cyclone, moderate cyclone of speed of something like 60 kilometers per hour to a very severe cyclone. Cyclone to a severe cyclone to a very severe cyclone. That is 2 categories ahead, to a speed of something like 110, 140 kilometers per hour.
Right.
And that kind of intensification in 24 hours is supported by the warm ocean waters. South of Bay of Bengal is quite warm compared to other regions. And we find that there are temperatures going up to 29, 30 degrees Celsius with the anomaly of 1 degree Celsius, which is highly anomalous, supporting rapid intensification in a short time.
Right. So just 1 second, I just want to go back to Admiral Chadha. Admiral, how closely are you coordinating with the state government, the National Disaster Relief Force and other agencies at this stage? How is this really a coordinated effort?
It's a very close coordination which we had. My Chief Staff Officer visited the state control room, and I'm in touch with the Chief Secretary in Tamil Nadu out here. And we have been also in touch with the Chief Minister in Puducherry. So there's been a very close coordination which has been there among all the agencies.
Admiral, in terms of, again, just for the benefit of our viewers, the speed at which it might strike, do you have any update on that?
As per the latest inputs, the wind speed will be around 140, gusting to 145, 150, when it makes landfall at around 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock in the morning.
Okay,
and,
so that, and where will it make landfall, sir? Do you have a better picture of that now?
My estimates say that it will be around 30 to 50 kilometers north of Puducherry.
30 to 50 kilometers north of Puducherry. And are rescuers and other relief personnel assembling in that area?
No, we got them standby and all the units which are along the coast so that they can move quickly and reach there as required.
And so one of the key roles that the Navy may play in a situation like this is distribution of relief material post the impact. So sometime tomorrow, if it turns out to be very bad, in terms of your assets, your ships which are available, how would that actually work?
I have got one ship which is already north of Chennai with carrying relief material of 5 HADR bricks, and there's another one which will be here by tomorrow early morning. So both of them combined can render assistance in whichever area is the most affected, which is cut off, and where the land-borne relief agencies may not be able to reach.
All right, Admiral, one more quick question to you. What is the sea state at this moment? We've got some visuals playing of a Coast Guard cutter. The sea state must be fairly horrific already off the coast.
Yes, from my office, when I look out outside Chennai, it's the sea state 4, 5, and where the storm is, that's out there, it will be sea state 6, 7.
All right, and Admiral, just in terms of what you've been seeing around you as you look outside your office, has the wind speed really started picking up?
Not so much in Chennai. Where my office is in Chennai right now, it is around 40 to 50 kilometers per hour, gusting at times. But it is expected to pick up to 110, 120 in the later part of the evening.
And you expect Chennai to also face 100+ kilometer wind speeds?
Yes.
Okay, so that's an important point, sir, that it might make landfall further north at speeds of 140 plus, but Chennai itself could be seeing wind speeds of 100 plus. That's what you're suggesting, sir?
Yeah, that's correct. And if just behind this cyclone, there's another depression which is forming up, which is likely to form up by 29th, which we are keeping an eye on, and we'll say if it intensifies or it dissipates.
Is there a possibility that that depression could actually end up being a cyclone?
The possibility always exists because the conditions are right now very conducive for the formation, as the expert was saying. But these are very dynamic things, and we keep a very close watch. And once it keeps intensifying and we have more updates, then we'll gear up accordingly.
Admiral Chadha, one last sort of question. Is there a message that you have for people, for example, who are watching us all across Tamil Nadu? It's, at the moment, things are okay. In a few hours, it will be difficult. What is your message to them?
My message to them will be to stay safe, to take shelter and stay inside, and to go out only when it's absolutely essential, so that the rescue and relief teams are able to do their job.
All right, Rear Admiral Puneet Chadha, thanks very much for being with us. Roxy Matthew Cole, just be with us for a moment. We are also joined by Mr. Satya Pradhan, the Director General of the National Disaster Relief Force. Mr. Satya Pradhan, in terms of the resources which you have in place, could you give us an idea of what the NDRF is doing?
Okay, Vishnu, for the last 48 hours, we have 25 teams arranged all across Tamil Nadu, especially in the eastern coastal areas, northeastern coastal districts of Tamil Nadu, and also 3 districts of Andhra Pradesh and Puducherry. That is about 30 teams, fully prepared teams, fully equipped teams across the 3 states. But of course, the focus is Tamil Nadu and Puducherry. And as I said, for the last 48 hours or so, they have been doing camps, awareness drives, evacuation. And as things stand, I just received a report from my commandant, who is sitting in the State Emergency Control Room in Chennai, Rekha Nambiar, who is monitoring the whole process on ground, that in excess of 1 lakh people have been evacuated in Tamil Nadu itself, and more than 2,000 have been evacuated in Puducherry, and the process is still on. So I think we are good to go, and we should be able to handle this cyclone.
How are you managing with COVID the evacuations?
Yeah, it's a tough call, but Vishnu, we must take into account the fact that there is a bank of experience already with NDRF. The entire year, so to say, has been COVID. COVID has been the context of disasters. It's a disaster, the bigger disaster within other disasters. So that has been the constant, so to say, and that is what has helped us probably gather some experience, which probably will come in good state, because you must remember that during the floods, during the cyclones, there were 2 cyclones back to back, Amphan and Nisarg, and then floods all across India. And NDRF of all forces had touchwood the minimum infections of COVID, in spite of the fact that they were actually handling people who were from COVID areas and actually going into flooded areas which were COVID affected.
Right.
But then due to protocols and due to discipline and due to strong regimen, they have managed. And I think that experience will come in good stead.
Okay, so sir, let's just, because this is what viewers in Chennai and Puducherry would certainly want to know. Firstly, where is it going to make landfall?
Well, it will be somewhere slightly north of Puducherry, but as with natural phenomena, you really cannot second guess that. It is a rapidly developing situation. It has been transforming into different configurations very fast. So, but right now, as the things stand, it should make landfall sometime well after midnight, probably around 2 a.m., somewhere north of Puducherry. Between Puducherry and Karaikal, and that should be the area which has to be looked at and focused at very, very strongly, and that is what we have done, and that is what the Tamil Nadu government has done. They made some internal adjustments and moved our teams to those impact areas, And I think we are in place, and the evacuations have happened in the impact areas. So we cross our fingers that we have done the preparations right, and we should be okay at the other side of the cyclone.
What land speeds can we what wind speeds can we expect in Puducherry and in Chennai?
You know that the very severe cyclone categorization that has happened, which has happened in the last 12 hours only, it has escalated the categorization, and now it is 120 plus, and gusting speeds can be 140 plus. In cricketing terms, that is a very fast ball. So yes, it is an impactful cyclone, and if it hits the kacha structures, and it will result in branches being broken, trees being broken, telephone lines and electric poles being damaged. So yes, we should be bracing for all that. We'd be lucky if those things don't happen. But these things will happen, and these are the things which we have accounted for. So yes, even in Chennai, as the Admiral was saying, we could expect wind speeds of nearly 100, and certainly in the coastal areas, in the impact areas, something like 120 plus.
And Puducherry?
Yes, again 120 plus certainly, because Puducherry is too close to the impact point.
So that's quite alarming. 120 kilometers per hour in Puducherry, possibly 100 kilometers per hour in Chennai. Yeah. We'll certainly keep an eye out on that. Again, Mr. Satyapradhan, your message for people across Tamil Nadu and Puducherry right now, they're still watching. It'll get snapped off sooner than later.
Well, I think my single message would be there is no such thing as enough precaution in such cases where there is a natural calamity looming ahead. I think you should take extreme precaution, even on the side of extreme precaution. It doesn't harm, and that is why when the crisis management committee meeting was held under the chairpersonship of the cabinet secretary, two things were very clear: that we should not think about evacuation. No second thought about evacuation. There should be even on the side of excess. And second, that the cyclone shelters should be ready, and there should not be any movement of traffic and people outside unless it is absolutely necessary. So these are the things I think that we should stick to, because there is no percentage in trying to brave the nature and the natural forces.
All right, sir. Good luck to you and to all of the men and women that you command who will save lives, because that's their job. Thanks very much, sir, for being with us. Roxy Matthew Cole, let me come to you. The Admiral was saying something fairly worrisome. He was indicating that there is a second depression which is forming. Could you share some details on that?
Well, our research lab did indicate me that there are back-to-back systems developing in the Bay of Bengal. I don't have the details of that depressions, but obviously the conditions are quite favorable in the Indian Ocean, in the Bay of Bengal region, South Bay of Bengal region, because the wind conditions are favorable, the ocean conditions are favorable, and this make a perfect recipe for these depressions and low pressure systems to form during this time. So that's all the information I have for the forthcoming.
Do you know when that depression may or may not become a cyclone? And we don't know the intensity yet. If it is to graduate, how many days after?
No, I don't have that information with
is
me.
Is it common or uncommon for something like this to happen, where you've got a cyclone followed by a depression which forms?
It's not rare. It is quite possible with the current conditions that's occurring in the Indian Ocean. It's quite possible. Yeah.
All right, Roxy Matthew Cole, the climate scientist with the Indian Institute of Tropical Meteorology, thank you very much for sharing those thoughts, and particularly what you said earlier about the conditions in the Indian Ocean right now, and the link to climate change. But in case you're just tuning in now, the big breaking news which we've got coming in, and we're going to be flashing this constantly. Number one, it's going to strike land. Landfall will be approximately 2 a.m. just north of Puducherry. Secondly, the wind speeds could be upwards of 145 kilometers per hour because it's gained intensity. Thirdly, in Puducherry itself, the wind speeds could be 120 kilometers per hour when it makes landfall. The winds would impact the town itself. The wind speeds in Chennai will be 100 kilometers per hour. That's a massive concern, because the possibility of significant damage is very significant, particularly for coastal areas and those structures which are temporary, those structures which are weak. And the final and critical piece of news, and this is very worrying, is that there is a second depression which is forming in the Indian Ocean, in the Bay of Bengal, in this broad area. Whether that is ultimately configures itself into a cyclone or not, we don't know, but the conditions exist for a second depression to actually graduate to becoming a cyclone. So this is a fairly difficult period. You need to stay home, you need to be careful, you need to ensure that if you can avoid getting out of your home, unless of course there's an emergency or something, you should try and stick at home. There is a possibility you will lose your electricity, there is a possibility that you will lose your cell phone coverage. Stay calm. There are forces who are out to fix that situation on a quick basis. There's the Navy, there's the Coast Guard, there's the National Disaster Relief Force, there is the police, and there is an entire setup looking to deal with this situation. We'll keep updating you on NDTV 24/7.